StarCraft might be one of Blizzard's weirdest series. When the game first came out in 1998, it absolutely rocked the RTS fan community. The game's 2010 sequel was met with similar acclaim and became one of the most popular esports over the decade. But the series' era of superiority is over. StarCraft may very well be dead in the water, and Activision Blizzard has bright green Zerg blood on their hands. When StarCraft first came onto the scene, it was clear that the young Blizzard Entertainment had struck gold once again. After breaking new ground with both Warcraft and Diablo in their respective subgenres, the devs had somehow managed to forge another path through the industry. This time, they were trying their hands at the real-time strategy subgenre, and they were changing it forever. If not one of the best games of all time, 1998 StarCraft is decidedly one of the most influential. While it may not have been as aesthetically pleasing as other RTS titles out at the time, the game would prove itself worthy of high praise the moment it was released. StarCraft's use of 3 different races with distinctive looks and playstyles, as well as its genuinely engaging, plot-heavy single-player campaign, were hugely instrumental for RTS games moving forward. The game was well-balanced, well-paced, and just generally a high-quality play experience. By the time the equally as beloved Brood War expansion came out a few months later, StarCraft had become the best-selling PC game of 1998. And unlike most games whose popularity tends to wane over time, StarCraft just kept gaining ground. While casual players loved it, the real interest was coming from the esports community. In North America, esports were still very much in their early phases when StarCraft came out. It, along with other games we've talked about on this channel, really helped to jumpstart the movement. But no help was necessary in South Korea, where millions of esports players and fans immediately latched onto the title that had become the gold standard of real-time strategy games. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in prize money was awarded across countless competitions, and over a full decade after the game was released, a cheating scandal was taken so seriously that it resulted in jail time. So yeah, StarCraft was, and still is, one of the most notable games ever created, which is why it only makes sense that Blizzard wanted to create a sequel. And in 2010, 2 years after they were bought out by Activision, that is exactly what they did. But before fans could play StarCraft 2, the newly named Activision Blizzard actually had to develop it. And there was one hiccup in the process. Originally announced in 2007, with a still iconic cinematic trailer,
"Hail, it's about time."
StarCraft 2 was delayed a full year because the team responsible for its development was being cut up and sent off to work on Blizzard's upcoming MMO instead. Just a little game you've probably never heard of called World of Warcraft. It was a decision that ultimately made StarCraft 2 even better. Those team members who went off to work on WoW came back with more experience and a better handle on things like map editing and class balancing, 2 of the many things the game would be praised for when it came out in 2010. While StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty was missing things like LAN capabilities, it was an all-around improvement on the first game. It looked better, played smoother, featured a longer and better campaign, added in a ton of new features, and sold more than 3 million copies in its first month of release. By the time its excellent second expansion pack came out, StarCraft 2 had made Activision Blizzard a ridiculous amount of money, and the fan base was bigger than ever. Like its predecessor, StarCraft 2 swiftly became an esports staple. The community had grown significantly in the years since StarCraft's 1998 release, so StarCraft 2 actually surpassed the first game in popularity and in prize money in South Korea. And with the help of the newly launched Twitch TV in 2011, StarCraft's sequel was getting recognition from a worldwide audience as well. For all of the early 2010s, StarCraft 2 really did reign supreme, just as the first game had in the late 90s and early 2000s. And Activision Blizzard has their decision to suspend development to thank for it, at least in part. But while the decision to place StarCraft on the back burner worked out in the sequel's favor, a similar decision years later may lead to the death of the franchise. In 2019, a brand new and unannounced StarCraft project was reportedly canceled so the studio could focus on the upcoming Diablo 4 and the highly controversial Overwatch 2. According to a source at Kotaku, the canceled game would have been a first-person shooter, like Battlefield in the StarCraft universe. That description might either sound like blasphemy or the coolest idea ever, depending on the kind of person you are. Still, no matter how you feel about StarCraft trying to move into the FPS genre, we can all agree that canceling the alleged game wouldn't be a good sign for the franchise. Rather than simply delaying the game, as Activision Blizzard did for StarCraft 2, fully canceling it indicates an unwillingness to move forward at all. Whether that unwillingness stops at the game in question, or encompasses the entire franchise has yet to be seen. What we do know is that other than an oddly out-of-place tweet by Blizzard's president in January of 2022, the company has been officially silent on StarCraft as a whole, and that doesn't bode well. Let's not forget that this isn't even the first time Blizzard has canceled a StarCraft project. The 2002 announcement of the hyped-up StarCraft Ghost was swept under the rug after 4 years of unproductive development hell. And that too, strangely enough, was a shooter, albeit a third-person stealth shooter rather than the alleged FPS from 2019. But the early 2000s were a different time. Blizzard and the StarCraft series were still on top of the world, and continuing the series was basically a foregone conclusion. Nowadays, the future is far less certain. The studio has been making increasingly bad decisions as of late. Killing StarCraft may just be another to add to the pile. Just to be clear, killing the series doesn't mean that nobody is playing StarCraft anymore. The series subreddit is still impressively active, and while it isn't even close to the top esport in the world anymore, StarCraft 2 is still very much alive and well, particularly in other countries. But the future of the series? That's looking pretty dead. Dead as most of the main characters in StarCraft 1. And it should be said that Activision Blizzard isn't purely to blame here. There are several contributing factors to StarCraft's downfall. After the first major South Korean cheating scandal, other controversies cropped up in 2015 and 2016 that worked to delegitimize the StarCraft esports scene. And as the years went by, the RTS subgenre that the series had helped popularize became oversaturated to the point of disinterest. MOBAs like League of Legends and traditional shooters have mostly taken their place in both casual and professional capacities. Obviously, Activision Blizzard knows this. While they've been putting a significant amount of resources into esports endeavors, their focus in North America has largely been on Overwatch and Call of Duty. With each passing year, StarCraft 2 gets pushed further to the sidelines and out of the public eye, only reiterating the idea that the company seems intent on killing off the series, or at least the RTS era of the series. The lack of effort or interest on the part of the developers and the reported cancellation of a new installment are just the last in a long line of blows being dealt to StarCraft. But doesn't it hurt that much more when the blows are coming from the company that created the game in the first place? Clearly, the StarCraft series is still worthy of the full attention of Activision Blizzard, but it's becoming less and less likely that it will ever see that attention again. And even if we hold out hope for a proper StarCraft 3, can we really expect it to live up to the expectations with the studio's rapidly declining reputation? It's a question that may never get a satisfying answer. But in the meantime, we can look at the positives. Blizzard created something truly special with the first 2 games, something that permanently changed the gaming landscape for the better. StarCraft and its sequel will be remembered for their positive contribution to the industry and to the lives of generations of gamers. So even if Activision Blizzard really is killing the series and there is no future for StarCraft, we can still enjoy the incredible games of the past. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all the latest Nerdstalgic gaming content. And last but not least, let us know in the comments, do you want a third StarCraft game? Would you play it if it was an FPS?